It's taken me quite a while to get macOS set up the way that I like it, and there's a lot that I've picked up over the years that isn't very obvious, but ends up making a world of difference in my everyday use on my Mac. I would say the most important changes that I make are usually done after a fresh install of macOS or on a brand new machine. And I've been wanting to make a video going over how and why I do all of this for anyone who is maybe new to macOS or is just looking for some ideas on how to more effectively use their Mac. Today, I'm going to go over things right from the first time that you start up a new Mac, guiding you through the setup, where some useful things are in the operating system, how to customize them, and just some general tips and tricks that help my Mac stay clean, focused, and uncluttered. So if you're new to Mac, maybe you just bought one, or like I said, if you're just looking for some ideas to make your experience a little bit better, stick around and let's get into it. This video is sponsored by Clean My Mac. Hey everyone, Kyle Erickson here. I switched to macOS from Windows full-time about a decade ago, but I still remember how foreign everything felt when I first made that switch. I didn't know where anything was or the best way to structure anything, and my setups would eventually just turn into a giant mess. I've really had to work at that and find what works for me, and my goal here today isn't for you to copy everything here, but rather take what you need and find what is useful and just leave the rest. And we're gonna start off from the very beginning, which is when you first set up your Mac. Most of this is fairly straightforward, and I'm not gonna spend a ton of time in here because the setup assistant does a pretty good job at guiding you through everything. Up front, you'll be asked which language you prefer, and if you have any accessibility needs, you have the option to set those up here as well. For most people, you'll probably breeze through that fairly easily, where you'll then connect to your Wi-Fi if you have it, which is followed by a data migration step. So you'll use this anytime you want to restore a backup or migrate all of your data from another device. I've got a drive here that I can restore from if I want to, which I'm gonna go over later on. Or if you have another Mac that's close by and connected on the same network, that will show up here as well. The only thing that I will say about migrating from another Mac is if you have a lot of storage used up on the machine that you're migrating from, you can save yourself a boatload of time by connecting that Mac to the new one with a Thunderbolt cable. That way, it'll just transfer everything over much faster, and frankly, even a 10 gigabit USB-C cable would be better than just relying on your network connection, which is going to be noticeably slower. In our case, we're just going to do a fresh install, so we'll just skip over this. You'll then be prompted to sign in with your Apple ID, and once you've logged in there, you'll then create a computer account which is separate from your Apple ID. This is just basically a user account for the machine itself, and I just like to make sure that I've checked the box allowing my Apple ID to reset this password. Otherwise, it can be a huge headache if anything happens where you lose your password. Once we've done that, we come to the data and privacy section, which I mostly leave on the default settings. This can be personalized to whatever you're comfortable with, but for me, the only thing that I like to switch off here is Siri, because I don't really find much use for it while on a Mac. File Vault disk encryption is the next step, and this is going to encrypt the contents of your SSD or storage so that nothing is accessible in the event that your Mac ever gets lost or stolen. Again, this is totally up to you, but I always have this on, as it just keeps things a lot more secure. From there, we go to Touch ID, which is pretty much a must for me, as it makes logging in and doing anything with security prompts a lot easier within macOS. Setting up that is fairly straightforward, and I usually skip the next Apple Pay option, as it's not something that I generally use. Finally, you can select a look. I'm gonna select dark mode today, but I toggle back and forth between these quite a bit. And you can adjust any of this stuff in settings later on, so don't feel like any of this is set in stone. After that, we'll be taken into macOS where we can really start customizing things, but before I do anything else, the first thing that I'm gonna do is click on the little settings icon in the dock, go to the General tab, and go to Software Update. This is gonna check if there's any software updates available, and it's generally a good practice to update those right away. You'll see that I'm running on beta software, and most of you probably won't and should not be running on this, so you can ignore that, but the process will be the same on regular versions as well. Once macOS is up to date, I'll open up the App Store app where I'll do the same thing by clicking on the Updates tab and check for any updates that might be available. This is something that you'll probably want to do regularly for apps installed through the App Store, but my go-to for keeping everything up to date is an app called Clean My Mac. It'll let me know if anything on my system needs to be updated, and beyond that, it's really an all-in-one tool for optimizing and maintaining your Mac. You can also uninstall apps, clear out leftover files, remove system junk, and on top of that, there's loads of features for managing storage and freeing up system resources. There's even malware protection, along with a host of other features. I've been using Clean My Mac for the past few years, and whenever you see system specs like temperature or memory usage in my videos, it's usually from this app. Plus, it's all notarized by Apple and available in the App Store, so this is all reviewed by Apple and is 100% safe for your machine. I will have a link to that in the description, and if you want to check that out, it does come with a free 7-day trial, so be sure to take a look at that if you're interested. I would say that is great for the more continual management of your Mac, but let's get back to some of the basics and the first things that we want to do here. Personally, I don't really like the new wallpapers on the latest macOS version, and changing that is the first thing that I usually do anyway. So I'll just head into the settings icon in the dock at the bottom of my screen, go to the Wallpaper tab, and I can either select from what's already here, or I can click on the Add Photo button and go to Choose if I have one stored on my machine. I'm gonna select one that I've got on my machine already, and once I've done that, there are a few other things that I'm gonna do while I have the Settings app open. First, I'm gonna head into the Desktop and Dock section, and I'm gonna turn on the Automatically Hide and Show Dock toggle. As you can see, this hides the dock until I move the cursor to the bottom of the screen, which frees up a little more space, and it looks a little better in my opinion. Likewise, I'm also going to toggle off the Show Suggested and Recent apps in the dock to remove some clutter from it, and because there are so many icons in the dock by default that I'll never use, I'm going to remove anything that's not useful to me by holding down on the icon or clicking with 2 fingers and going to Options, Remove from Dock. By the way, if you're new to Mac, clicking with 2 fingers on the trackpad is essentially the same as right-clicking on a Windows trackpad, but you can do the same thing by holding down on the Control key and clicking the trackpad as well. Now, I usually just add apps to the dock as I find things that I use a lot and organize them in a way that makes the most sense to me by dragging them around, usually by most frequently used or grouped together by app type, but this is totally just a personal preference. With the dock taken care of and the Settings app still open on the Desktop and Dock tab, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit until I see Show Items, and I'm gonna uncheck On Desktop. This is not gonna be for everyone, but for me, I'd rather not see any icons on my home screen. If I ever want to access what's on the desktop, I can just go into the desktop folder in Finder, which we're going to get into in a second. But the final thing that I'm going to do in Desktop and Dock is scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on the Hot Corners button. By default, you'll see that you have an item assigned with Quick Note, and essentially what that is anytime that I put my mouse into the bottom right corner, a little note indicator pops up, which I find that I almost never use, and it mostly just gets in the way, so I prefer to just disable all of those. That's really all I want to touch on in the settings for now, and I'm going to close that and open up a Finder window. If you're brand new to macOS, Finder is how you manage files and folders, similar to Windows Explorer if you're coming from that world. On the left-hand side, you'll have a sidebar with quick access to certain locations on your Mac, and you'll notice that all your applications sit within an Applications folder. This is generally where you'll access all your apps on your Mac, either by going through the Finder or through Launchpad in the dock. But before I get ahead of myself and start moving through the Finder and doing things, there are a few things that I like to do beforehand. The first thing that I'm going to do with Finder open is go up to the taskbar and click Finder and go into Settings, and I'm going to make sure everything is unchecked from the Show These Items in the Desktop list. Because again, I personally don't like this stuff on my desktop, and it's going to show up on the Finder sidebar anyway. Then I'm going to go to the Sidebar tab, and under Favorites, I'll uncheck the things that I don't use from the sidebar, and I'm gonna check my user folder because that does come in handy a lot if you're looking to grab or place files from a specific app folder. For me, that might be something like placing or removing a preset for Final Cut Pro or Logic Pro. Likewise, I'm gonna make sure that external and hard drives are checked for the same reason. I also like to give myself a little more structure within Finder by going to the Advanced tab and checking Keep Folders on top in Windows, which, in my opinion, is just a little bit more predictable and organized across every directory. That's all I want to touch in here, but there are still a few more things that I think are super useful that I want to show. Next, with Finder open, I'm going to go into View and click Show Pathbar, which will give me this nice little breadcrumb window and let me know the exact navigation trail of the folder I'm in. And I'm also going to go to View Show Status Bar as well. And that's going to tell me how much space is available on the drive of the folder that I'm in. That gives me a much better view over the stock configuration, and from there I can go about setting up how I like to structure everything. This is going to be different for everyone, but for me, I like most of my work outside of video editing to live in the Documents folder. Inside there, I have folders for design work that I might be doing, development for software projects, and a docs folder for any important documents that I want to keep. Also, if you have folders that you do plan on using a lot, you can drag those onto your sidebar for quick access. That being said, the majority of my work is done from an external drive, as there's just a lot of data transfer happening and I prefer to offload that externally. If you're curious about that, I have other videos going over how I've set that up that I will link in the description, but for that, I have a similar structure with all the different things that I work on, but I do just want to mention a couple of useful things that I do here. First off, I always name my external drive in the sidebar to something specific so that I know what it is at a glance. Oftentimes, I'll have multiple drives connected, and I want to make sure that I don't mess up anything there, so naming is super important. Naming is also important when a folder has too many subfolders or items. For me, an example would be something like exported B-roll clips or thumbnails, which I have tons of. Rather than just naming them something descriptive only, I prefer to prefix a date right in the folder name, which makes things a little bit easier to find, and then at the end of the year, I can just put them in a folder for that year. Speaking of being easier to find, I do a lot of my work in a web browser, as I'm sure most people do, and lately I much prefer vertical tabs. As humans, we process things like menus and tab bars more naturally from top to bottom versus horizontally. So this just makes a lot more sense to me, and there are a couple of web browsers that allow you to do this, but Safari is not one of them. Arc browser is like this by default, but my personal favorite is Brave, which I've been using for years. By default, it does show up with horizontal tabs, so to change this, I'm gonna go into the menu and go to Settings, Appearance, and under Tabs, I'm gonna toggle on Use Vertical Tabs. That moves all my tabs into a sidebar, and what I like about this is I can click the button just above the tabs to keep the tab title showing, or I can have it hidden until I hover over it. I also like Brave because it's generally a little bit quicker than most browsers, and when I save things, by default it asks me where I want to save rather than just going into the Downloads folder. That's really all I want to talk about as far as third-party apps go, because that's a topic for a whole other video, which I do think that I'll dive into more in the next couple of weeks. So if you want to see how I use my machine more, what apps I like, and what my day-to-day is like, rather than just setting things up, make sure that you're subscribed, and I should have that up in the next couple of weeks. I want to get back to the OS level stuff and circle back to something that I mentioned earlier, which is creating backups via Time Machine, which, if you've got important files on your Mac, is kind of a must in my opinion. I used to do this quite often, but because I store everything critical on a NAS with mirrored hard drives now, I don't generally worry about it as much these days, but if I decide to install any beta versions of macOS, I still use it, and it's generally just a good practice to get into. To do that, the first thing that you're going to need is some kind of external storage like an SSD or a spinning hard drive, and you're going to want to make sure that it's fairly large in size, or at least big enough to cover the size of the internal storage on your Mac. Once you've got that, you can plug it into your Mac and head into Settings, and under General, go to Time Machine and click on Backup Disk. You can then select a drive and it'll guide you through that process, and once it's finished, it will automatically back up your Mac after a minute or so. Now you can use that drive either in the initial setup process if you're working from a fresh install or on a new machine, or in Settings you can go to General and under Transfer or Reset, you can restore your backup with the migration assistant there in the event that something is acting up, or if you've installed something that was buggy and you want to revert to an older version. The final thing that I want to talk about today isn't necessarily to do with setting up your Mac, but I think is super useful for effectively using it, and that is keyboard shortcuts. We'd be here all day if I tried to go over all of them, but these are some of my favorites and the ones that I personally use on a daily basis. A lot of you might be familiar with Command-C and Command-V for copy and pasting text, images, or different files around macOS, but oftentimes when you paste something, you don't always want it to remain in its original location. To cut or move the file so it's just in the new location, instead of hitting Command-V to paste, hitting Command-Option-V will move it to the new location rather than just copying it. I should also mention that holding that Option key while secondary or right-clicking on something will often provide you with more options within a menu. Say if you have an app that's not responding and you need to force close it. Speaking of closing apps, you can close any app in macOS by hitting Command-Q. Hitting Command-W will close the current window without closing the app. Command-N opens a new window. Command-M will minimize it, and Command-Tab will switch between apps. Those are all great, but one of the most useful things in my opinion is the Command-Space shortcut that opens up Spotlight Search, and I might actually use this more than anything else here. With Spotlight Search, I can open up apps, which is usually my preferred way if they're not already in the dock. I can use it as a calculator, search the web, or for files on my computer, and it's just a really handy feature. The final couple of shortcuts that I want to mention are with screenshots and screen recording, which can be super useful at times. Hitting Command-Shift-3 will take a screenshot of your entire desktop, and Command-Shift-4 will take a screenshot of an area that you select with your cursor. You can also hold Control while you're selecting the area that you'd like to screenshot, and when you release the cursor, it will copy it instead of saving it to your desktop, which is the default location that any of these screenshots save to. Command-Shift-4 with space will capture a specific window, and Command-Shift-5 will open up the screenshot toolbar, where you can do any of these or record your screen. Within this toolbar, you can also provide a location where you'd like to save your shots to, and it will remember it for the next time that you do this as well, which I find really helpful. I could probably keep going on with shortcuts for hours, and I'm sure that I'm missing some really useful ones. So if you have a shortcut that you want to mention, or really anything you do that could be helpful in this whole process of setting up your Mac, please let me know in the comments down below. That's really all I wanted to touch on today, and just go over some of the more foundational stuff that I find to be helpful. And like I said, I will follow up with another video diving into some of the apps that I use in my workflow and how I effectively use my Mac, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, feel free to hit that like button. If you'd like to see more tech-related content or help me organize a poetry night where all the poems have to be about cheese, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.